So there were 14 people booked in to come physically. Whether people are coming or not, I don't know. But people are logged in. I need you to be able to see here. I'm going to be presenting here. Just as long as I've got a clearing here so that people virtually can, and anyone else admitting them. So you've got chairs if you want to grab a chair or use a bench. And then, yeah, people doing small group, you're going to be training in silence, unfortunately. Okay, fastest changeover. If you're staying, come sit. If you want a chair, sit on a chair. If you want a stool, sit on a stool. But yeah, if you can just leave a clearing here for the cameras. So we are recording. We're recording live on Zoom, so anyone who can't attend can watch it live. Yeah. I'm then recording it on my phone as well because my mic only links to my phone rather than on Zoom as well. So there's loads of different variations. So those on Zoom, if you can't see the presentation or if the cameras flip round, you'll get the slides to this anyway. So don't worry. It's just basically running through what it is to achieve a goal. And basically, we're going to be doing a 6-week challenge or a 6-week kickstart at the start of January. Okay, so we're just basically using these next 2 weeks to kind of plan out your goals, whatever your goals might be. We could talk through whether you think your goals are attainable, what it involves, and kind of stem on from there. So to begin with, so basically, have you got the mindset, tools and discipline to achieve your goal? So lots of things to consider when you are thinking of a goal. So the first thing is, are you in the right mindset? So not knowing where to start is kind of the hardest part about setting up a goal. And if your goal is quite vague, it's going to make it even harder to achieve. So if your goal is something like, I want to lose weight and tone up, it's a bit vague. It's more like, I want to lose X amount of weight in this time frame, and then that way it's a bit more measurable, okay? So when you've got a goal, think of a good, clear one. Yeah, the more vague it is, the less likely it is to achieve it. And then once you've chosen your goal, a realistically one, think about your current lifestyle. So lots of things that might affect you achieving your goal. So if your workload is hectic, if you've got big family responsibilities, if you've got kids that you're looking after, so you haven't got, enough time to dedicate to your training, to your goal. If you're studying, if you've got pets, oh my God, my voice. Yeah, if you've got pets, or maybe you're, oh my God. Or maybe you're in a financial situation. I can't clear this now. Oh my God, it's completely gone. Yeah, or maybe you're in a financial situation where, you can't train as often and you can't afford a gym membership, blah, blah, blah. So loads of things to consider about current lifestyle. So all of these need to be considered. And then, oh my God. Sorry to anyone on Zoom that can't hear me. It's completely gone. Yeah, so usually when you work hard towards something, something else is going to have to temporarily suffer, okay, or some form of a sacrifice. So the next thing is, once you've got your goal, you basically want to set out a long-term goal first of all, okay? Once you've got a long-term goal, then you kind of create a mid-term goal and then a short-term goal. It just makes something a little bit more easier to achieve. You know, when you've got a long-term goal, you've got something in mind. When you've got a mid-term goal, there's a little bit more sort of motivation to get to your long-term goal, and then having a short-term goal gives you that bit of motivation, a bit of a kickstart. You'll see some results, you'll understand the process and kind of get used to any sort of new habits that you've had to create. So you start with long-term, then you sort of create a mid-term and then a short-term. So you kind of do it backwards. Once you've then created your goal, you then have a training schedule. So once you've got your sort of training schedule, depending on what your goal is, then you've got your training schedule, and then you're going to look at what nutrition is going to support your training for your short-term goal. So you'll work out things like calories, you'll work out your macronutrients, and then, you know, once you've hit that short-term goal, your nutrition and training will then change towards your mid-term goal, and then once you've reached your mid-term goal, then it will change to your long-term, because you won't have the same kind of stats, because if you're progressing in whatever it is that you're doing, then things will change. So your calorie consumption will potentially go up or go down. So just know that it will, you know, fluctuate depending on how far along your goal you are. Does that make sense? Cool. So that's kind of the next bit. And then once you've sorted out your nutrition and you've got your training schedule all planned out, then you're going to look at how you're going to track your progress. So how you're going to monitor whether you're actually reaching your goal or not. There are lots of different ways that you can track your journey. So are you tracking your calorie consumption because you've got a fat loss goal? Are you sort of tracking your macronutrients? So is that your protein because your goal is now muscle gain? Are you doing body measurements? You know, so you're working on body composition, so making sure that maybe your waist is getting smaller. Heart rate, so if you're doing an endurance event and you want to check what your heart rate's saying, you know, when you've got your MyZone stats up there, that might be something you want to check. Maybe you want to keep a track of how recovered you are during your session. So if you find that you're exercising loads and you're just sore after every session, it might be that you're under-recovered. So that might be something you want to track. Blood pressure might be something, you know, keeping track of your sleep. These are all ways that you can monitor your progress, okay? And it's very important that you take responsibility of tracking your own progress. You know, keeps you motivated, lets you know if something's going wrong, okay? So if you've got this goal and you're not keeping track and you think, oh, I'm nowhere near my goal. Well, why is that? Is it because you're not tracking the weights that you're lifting? Are you not tracking your calories for your fat loss or whatever? So you just got to take a lot of responsibility on making sure that you stay on course with stuff. Plus, it also tells you a story of your journey. You know, if you're going through a real big transition, it's pretty cool to see where you started and where you've ended, and having a little look back to be like, cool, look how terrible I was at doing X, Y, Z, how well I've progressed. So it's a nice little feedback thing for yourself. So yeah, tracking your progress. And then also when you've got a goal, there might be some non-negotiables, unfortunately. So some things will have to sacrifice. You know, you're not always going to be perfect throughout the whole process, but there might be some things that are non-negotiables. So if you're training for a sport event, it'd be like, okay, you know, I can't now do X, Y, Z, but I can do this instead. Or if I can't do this, I'll then try and do this. So yeah, just non-negotiables. And this is why choosing an attainable goal at the start is really, really important. So, you know, there's only a handful of people that can be completely perfect the whole time. There will be times where you get sick or, yeah, you're off work for, you know, work takes priority for a while. So you're not going to be perfect at everything, but there should be some non-negotiables if you really want to kind of achieve something. So that's kind of the process of a goal. So looking at your current lifestyle, you know, will your life allow for it? Then looking at your long-term goal and breaking it down into mid-term, short-term. Then looking at your training schedule and your nutrition to support your goal, how you're going to track it, and what are your non-negotiables to kind of reach it. So the best way to kind of do it is for me to do a case study. So I'm going to use myself as an example. Now, for some reason, I don't think, this won't show my Excel spreadsheet. Or my Word document. Does it show my Word? No. So what we're going to do over the next week or so is we're going to send you guys like a template that you can use. I've got it up on my screen here, but for some reason it's not being shown on here. But we're going to send you guys a template. It's very simple. The first box is, it's just going to say, what's your goal? So in that box, think about what your goal is, and that will be your long-term goal. Once you've got that, there'll then be some other boxes as a bit of a tick list to be like, does your current work schedule allow it? Yep, sweet. Does my family life allow it? Yep, perfect. Does my studying allow for it? No. Oh, so you've got some studying. Okay, so if that's not going to allow for it, why is that? And we'll take that into consideration. So there'll be some drop downs that you can really kind of look at. And then if there is some sacrifices that need to be made, then we're going to write them in there. So to put myself as a case study, so July next year, I've got a swim. I've got an open water 7.5 mile swim in the Lake District. So I've got 6 months to plan for that. So that is my long-term goal. Does my work schedule allow for it? At the moment, yes, it does. So I have got the time to train. Family and children, yeah, I have got a 3-year-old son, but he's at nursery during the day, so there's not that much commitment. So yeah, I can allow for it. I've actually got some exams in March or April, so I might have to sacrifice some of my time to allow for that, but it's okay at the minute. Training and exercise, I've got the time to do it. Pets, yeah, I've got a dog that needs walking, but I've already kind of allowed for that. So at the moment, it's an attainable goal. So and the sacrifices that I'm making, I'm probably going to have to sacrifice going out a bit. Not really going to be able to socialise much. Going to have to avoid late nights. It might mean that I can't bring on many clients now, because if I bring on more clients, I won't have time to train. So those are some of the sacrifices that I'm willing to make in order to achieve that goal. But then, the pros of it, for me, I'm going to get better sleep because I'm not going out. My diet's going to be better because I'm exercising a little bit more. I need to make sure that my nutrition's nice and clean. And my recovery will be better because I'm not staying up late. The cons, yeah, I'm not going to see my friends as often. And I might have a temporary reduction in my income because I'm not taking on more clients. But, I'm willing to sacrifice that to achieve that goal. So then I'm going to break my goal down into long-term, mid-term, short-term. So my long-term goal is that 7-mile swim in 6 months. My mid-term goal is kind of to be able to swim 4 miles, upping my training to do 3 swim sessions a week. But my short-term goal is that I need to be able to do 2 swim sessions a week alongside my other training for the next 2 months. So that's my short-term goal. So from January to March, I've got to swim twice a week with everything else in my current lifestyle. So now that I've kind of got that all in play, I now need to kind of look at my training schedule. So for me, I have 3 strength sessions a week, 2 swim sessions a week, and that allows for 2 days of recovery. So Mondays, for example, I do a strength-based session on a Monday, which is all lower body. Tuesdays are going to be a rest day for me. Wednesdays, I'm going to be doing a swim session where it's sprint and hard efforts. So that's a cardiovascular training session, working at a high heart rate zone. Thursday is a strength lower body day, which is all weights. Friday swim is a zone 2 endurance effort. Saturday I do another strength-based session, which is calisthenics, which is all body weight exercises and a bit of rehab and prehab. And then Sunday is a rest day. So where I've kind of got my training schedule all aligned, for the next 2 months, that will change. I then need to look at my nutrition requirements. So have any of you guys used the Blueprint calorie calculator before? Yeah? If you haven't, don't worry, we'll be putting a link into the upcoming group with regards to this 6-week challenge of how you can do it. It's very, very easy to use, and you can probably actually do a version now on your phone. Now, because my phone is currently being used to record this, can someone use their phone as a calculator for me? Please. Thank you. Okay, so I went on the InBody earlier to see where my starting point is for my weight. So my current weight is 65 kg. So if you type that in, now because I'm a female, times that number by 22, what does that equal? 1,000. So 1,430 is what's called my basal metabolic rate. Now I'm quite an active person. So I would times that number by 1.5. So 2,100, that allows for me to, so that's my basal metabolic rate, and that's my current activity levels, okay? So remember that number. I'm now doing 5 exercise sessions a week, okay? So I'm gonna be burning a lot more calories as my training increases. Now, to put things into perspective, in those small group PT sessions, females tend to burn between 150 to 300 calories, okay? It's not loads, but that's not the point of those. We're not burning calories, we're there to build muscle and get strong in those. So if I'm doing a similar session to that 3 times a week, I've tracked it on my app before, I roughly burn 300 calories in those sessions. So where I'm doing 3 of those a week, so 300 times that by 3, that's 900 calories I'm expending during strength training. And then I'm doing 2 swim sessions a week. They're not that hard, they're not that long yet. And I typically burn 500 calories in those, so times that by 2. So over the course of a week, through exercise, I burn 2,000 calories. So I need to make sure that I'm consuming those calories to sustain my training for those next 2 months. So 2,000, divide that by 7 days a week. So that's additional 200, call it 300 calories a day. So what's the number on my calculator? So 2,145, 45 plus 300. So my calorie intake for the next, for the next 2 months, 2,500 calories. Okay, so that's how much I now need. That's right.
So you can average it out. So, like for example, I'll cycle to work say twice.
Yep.
And then do nothing the next day. And I might even like today I've cycled and I've come here.
Yep.
And then tomorrow I'll probably cycle as well. And then Wednesday I might do nothing. I'll
Yep.
sit on the train, go to work, come back, and do nothing else.
Yep.
Should I average it out? Try to eat less on that Wednesday, or can you just average it out over a week?
So this is when it, so this is when it comes down to preference. So what your choice is. So I can either do that as like an average over 7 days, or it might be on my rest days where I'm not doing anything. I might only eat 2,000 calories, and the days where I'm doing a more high intense training session, I might eat 3,000 calories. But like over the course of a week, the accumulation is, what is 2,500 times 7? So over the course of the week, 1,800 calories. So yeah, there might be some days that are high, some days that are low. Again, depending on your goal, depending on your preference, depending on your social life. But yeah, so if you're someone that likes to stay the same every day, do it like that. If you want to diet a bit stricter on some days and then have more on the weekends, then you can sort of play around with that. So that's me. I've just worked out my calories obviously very quickly. I sort of know how to do it. But now that I've got my training plan and I've got the amount of calories that I'm going to need to sustain my training, the nutrition's done, the training's done, I would then look at what the kind of next important thing for me to be with that. That is then looking at my protein intake. So to put things into perspective, we should be having anywhere between 1.5 and 2 grams per kg of your body weight. So if I'm 65 kg, times that by 1.5, so anywhere between, times that by 5, so anywhere between 100 and 135 grams per day. Per day, yeah, again, to sustain my training and my current body weight. And then the next thing that we would then look at, or that I would look at, is then how I'm going to track my progress. So for me, because my goal isn't like a weight loss goal, I'm not really that interested in tracking my calories. I know roughly, over years of doing it, I know roughly what 2,500 calories looks like. But with regards to my training, I need to make sure that my fitness levels are up. So I'm going to be tracking my stats and my heart rate throughout my sessions. So you know, when anyone here that uses a MyZone heart rate monitor, you know, you can look at your stats at the end and you can see your heart rates. So that's what I'm going to be interested in. So I'm just going to track that. So,
Are you looking at maximums or average?
So I'll have a swim program that will give me my workouts, and it will say that, you know, work at zone 2 for 20 minutes and then recover, work at zone 3, da da da. So at the end of the session, my heart rate stats should mirror what my training program said. And if it doesn't, if it's massively off, then there's a few reasons why that could be. One, my fitness isn't there. Maybe I'm sick or something, but it's a feedback for me to be like, why am I not at a standard that I should be, type thing. So I'm going to be tracking, my heart rate is what's important for me, and just making sure I'm getting in enough protein. But what you track might be slightly different. And I'm also going to track how well recovered I am. Because if I'm not recovered, so I'm just basically, if I feel broken every single day, if I'm constantly sore, if I'm constantly fatigued, something's wrong. So it might be that the strength training sessions that I'm doing are actually too hard for me to sustain whilst I'm doing my swim. So I might have to regress the weights that I'm lifting in the gym so that I've got the energy like for the swim. So I'm just going to track how knackered I feel. And you just do that by every day, be like, oh, I've woken up broken, my muscles hurt, my brain hurts, and I'm moody with everybody, whatever. That's what I'm going to track. And then, for example, non-negotiables. So for me, throughout this whole training, this whole next 6 months, there's like a few things that are real non-negotiables for me. I have to do those 2 swims, and I have to maintain my 3 strength sessions. Those 3 strength sessions are just like for, obviously, they'll help me towards my performance, but I'm really happy with the muscle mass that I've built over the last 15 years. I'm really happy with my body composition, so I don't want to lose that. So keeping up with those strength sessions as well as that is really important to me. A non-negotiable is that I take my supplements every day. So I have to be doing those, and I have to be getting at least 7 hours of sleep. So those are my sort of non-negotiables. They might be different for you, okay? So again, it's just trying to keep up with or decide what your non-negotiables are. And then, just making sure that I sort of persevere with it all. So that's kind of how you can plan your goal out. Now, is there anyone here who's got a goal in particular in mind that they roughly want to work towards, or we can kind of use you as a case study at all? No? You got a goal? What? What's your goal? So at the start, is that your long-term goal?
Yeah, I want to do it in
3
3 months' time.
months. Okay.
Kgs a month.
Okay, so we've got a goal. We've got a weight loss goal. What was the total? 5. So you got 5 kg in 3 months, okay? So the goal was slightly shorter than, let's say, a 6-month goal. So you'd have to work out, how many calories that you need to reduce your number by, or break your goal down into, if it's 3 months, then you've then got a 2-month goal and a 1-month goal. So your initial part will be just looking at what you need to do for the first month. Once you've done the first month, then you might have to potentially change your goals slightly if you've then increased your exercise or whatever, and then just kind of keep referring back. And it's the same with things like if you're training for a marathon or if it's muscle gain. Some goals are easier, I say easier, some goals can be achieved faster depending on what they are. So for example, fat loss can happen a lot faster than muscle gain. To put things into perspective, if you were to do a really heavy strength training program solidly for 3 months, where you're training like 4 times a week and you're really pushing the weight, the amount of muscle growth you have will be about 0.2 centimetres. Like, it's not like, it's very, very hard. And that is if you're doing everything correctly. That's you training hard, that's your nutrition bang on, that is you sleeping really well, that is you taking all your supplements. So you just have to be patient with whatever the goal is. Fat loss can happen a lot faster, muscle growth is slower. So whatever your goal is, you've just got to stay consistent and have the real mindset for it. And again, try not to make your goal too hard. That's when you've got to go back to being so do you think 3 months is a realistic goal for you? Have you got like big work commitments? Are you studying for anything? You've got like families that are going to take up your priority. Try and think of that and just be like, oh, do you know what? Maybe 3 months is actually a little bit too drastic. Maybe I'll increase it to like 4 months or something. So it's a great goal, but just maybe take a couple of days to really think about it and be like, yeah, do you know what? I can do it or whatever. Does that make sense?
I think in March, I will lose weight, I will lose muscle.
So something may have to sacrifice. That's when sacrifices come in, right? So yeah, there are ways that you can try and limit as much muscle mass being lost by, making sure that you're getting good protein in and you are sort of recovering in between your sessions. But your fat loss and muscle gain is hard to do at the same time. So maybe that 3 month period is the fat loss goal. Once you've reached that fat loss, then maybe go into the muscle gain section.
I'm just thinking January, February, a little bit of muscle, fat loss in March, I fast. I will lose muscle. I will lose weight, but I will lose muscle as well.
So then it will be quite important for you during that fasting period, when you have got windows of opportunity to eat, you've got to get as much protein in as possible to like sustain as much muscle to maintain as much muscle mass as you've got. And then just don't get disheartened if it does go down, because there's obviously a reason why it's going to go down. You can just pick up after it as well. But again, that's something to consider. So in that goal, you've got something quite big happening as well. So just make sure again that it's attainable, that you take that into sort of consideration. Any questions at this point? No? So the way the kind of like this 6 week challenge is going to flow is, we've got 2.5 weeks really for you to really think about what your goal is. So we'll send you through this document where you can kind of go through it, write stuff down, and then you can ask us to look over it and say, this is what I've gone for. Do you think this is realistic? This is what I've worked out my calories to be. Is this right? We can be like, oh, it's a great goal, but X, Y, Z might affect it. So if it does, why don't you try it like this? So you've got like 2.5 weeks to really get yourself into a good mindset, get yourself prepared, ask us for advice for you to kind of set up. So we'll be setting up a group. We'll talk about, again, in the next couple of days, how the process of the challenge is actually going to flow. But we'll be putting you into sort of accountability groups as well. So you can, have other members try and spur you on. Obviously, you can ask us for a little bit of help. But yeah, you just want to have the basics done so that you're ready to kind of start. So whether that means ordering your supplements, whether you're now going to make sure that like your house is fully stocked with whatever foods, you're going to get yourself clued up on how your heart rate monitor works or whatever, so that you can, get things going from the get-go. But yeah, if you're not organised or your goal is unattainable, it will be less likely for you to kind of achieve it. And there's no silly goal, really. Your goal is your goal at the end of the day. One goal actually that I didn't consider, or that I haven't actually spoken about, is it doesn't necessarily have to be an exercise-related goal or a weight loss goal. You might be at a position in your life where you are overstimulated and mentally you just cannot clear your thoughts of whatever. Maybe you've got loads of stress going on. So maybe the first 6 weeks, these next 6 weeks, is you're actually going to work on your mental health. So are you maybe going to go and seek some cognitive behaviour therapy that's going to help you? You'd be like, why am I stuck in this? Why am I not motivated? Why am I not this? Why am I not this? Why am I always sad about this? Why am I always anxious about this? It might be that you spend those 6 weeks addressing your mental health. Obviously, we're not mental health advisors, but that might be something that you want to start. Maybe something's been troubling you for a couple of years that you haven't been able to get past. So yeah, mental health might be something that you want to, work on as well. Any questions?
So will you check like the calories and that? So when this all comes through,
Yep.
will you sort of work out what calories I need to?
Yeah. So once you've set your goal, we'll put a little video together so if you've not used the Blueprint calorie calculator before, anyone who is actually here physically, I know I can't put it up on here, but if you guys want to actually watch it and me do it quickly, I'll show you. But yeah, once you've got your goal, try and do the calories yourself, and then just flash it back to us and we'll be like, yep, that's right. Or, and protein or whatever. Anyone thought now of a goal that they want to avoid? No? Anyone got like a sporting event? No? Oh yeah, of course you're going to you're climbing Everest.
Yeah, no, I've sort of changed it 3 months ago to try and put in more cardio and kind of watch what I'm eating.
So for example, for you, not only are you going to be hiking, is it cardiovascularly, the air is significantly thinner up there. So you kind of getting used to what...
It's not kind of thing you can sort of train for.
I know, unless you go to some expensive oxygen chamber.
That's why I've been doing cardio the last 3 months. I've been trying to put in at least 3 a week.
Yep.
To try and sort of...
And then things that's going to be useful for you potentially is learning how to then, carry a backpack whilst you're walking as well. I know you're not going to be carrying all your gear, but all those small things will have an impact. You'll be like, oh, why is my shoulders always hurting me or my lower back? You'll be like, oh, I'm not used to wearing a backpack. So it might be now that you're walking with...
I've been doing the last sort of month. I've been doing like one walk.
Yep.
On a Sunday, just going to do like 10, 15k, and then just have a backpack and just load it up with stuff.
Yeah. So you've got roughly 3 months.
Yeah.
Is it end of March?
Yeah, start.
Good. So you've got like a solid 3 months. So it could be for 6 weeks. You're just going to monitor, just making sure that you're getting enough calories in. Doesn't matter the quality of the calories, but you're getting the fuel in. And every time I walk, I'm going to use, my